stay the one that I want.
All right, let's see. We go live. Boom! Come on. 1 week in, I'm already a professional streamer. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How we doing? So, as you can see, we got a little bit of a different setting for our university meetings. Typically, we're doing them over Zoom, have everybody face-to-face, rocking it. Alberto! And now we're just going to start handling them on the YouTube live stream. Why? Because it's going to help us push these videos out into the algorithm, hopefully meet more people, get more people in the community, and continue to expand the network. And I can still see the chat. You guys can start boom, 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 asking questions, all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be just like what we were doing every single Saturday, but now on YouTube. Okay, so now you guys know. So get the word out to everybody. Continue to remind everybody that this is on YouTube now, because I'm sure I'm going to have a couple people join the Zoom and going to say, Priyama, why didn't you let me in? I'm in the waiting room. Because we're on YouTube, baby. We're live. All right. So, anyways, let's get into it. All right. So today, as I was going through the week, I always try to pick a couple of things out of the week where I can go ahead and put something together on a Saturday where I can recap something I learned throughout the week or something that I was thinking about throughout the week, so that you can put that into your own mind frame and understand, okay, what is this guy thinking about? What is he seeing in the world right now? And so something that came up again recently is a point that I've made in the past, but I want to talk about it again, okay? And that's asking the right questions and using your own eyes to understand what's going on in the world around you, okay? Because, unfortunately, it seems like nowadays that people will not trust their own eyes and take the programming from the society, the news, the people around them. They'll take in that programming and just regurgitate and agree with the information they're getting externally, as opposed to just trusting their own internal senses, their own eyes, their own ears, what they see, what they speak, right? So asking the right questions is so imperative to, number one, put yourself in a place mentally and in the real world where you can succeed at a high level because you actually understand what's going on. And then you can worry about actually going and making money and doing the things in your business, right? Because if you can't see the world through a lens that's going to make you competitive, or in a way where you can understand what's actually going on around you, how are you going to expect to compete with and defeat the people that are controlling the money, that are controlling you, the governments that are putting the rules in place to go ahead and keep the common man down and keep themselves up? How are you going to be competitive with them? How are you going to break out of the system if you don't understand what's actually going on? The only way you can do this is asking the right questions. So what came up this week? So I was watching a interview it was Tucker Carlson, okay? So if you go to his YouTube page, the most recent one he did was, the title was Pharma, what was it called? Pharma Whistleblowers, right? Big Pharma Whistleblowers. And it was a brother and a sister discussing the atrocities that are happening right now in the pharmaceutical industry and in the food industry and how they're tied together. And in this interview, they're bringing up such obvious points that seem so logical and are so clearly the truth, but nobody discusses them openly. And this is having to do with the food that we eat. And this is a point that I made in the past where food, what you consume, is so important, but people don't think about this in the United States. Where I come from, my family being Italian, my mother from Venezuela, right? In these cultures, in these places, food is the most important thing. Italians, if you know Italians, their world revolves around food. And guess what? My grandfather lived to 101 years old. Why? Because he said the food that he ate, the routine that he set for himself. This is the most important thing, a part of their life. But in the United States, in other first world, highly developed countries, they don't look at food that way. But why? Why wouldn't we? Food is the fuel that you use to drive your body. Okay? It is your fuel. And inherently, we understand, when I use an analogy to explain how food works with the human body, when you put it in terms of cars, people understand this very, very simply, but they don't attribute this to themselves as a human being, right? And the analogy I'm going to use is, if you have a Ferrari and you have a Honda, you know intuitively that they're going to use two different types of fuel. A Ferrari is going to require a higher grade, a higher premium of fuel, as opposed to a Honda. And why is that? Well, because of the performance. because of the intensity that Ferrari has in the engine requires a higher level, a higher octane fuel. Why? Well, because if you put too low of an octane fuel in a Ferrari, you're going to get engine knocking. Why? Well, because the pressure is so high in the engine that when you have a too low of an octane fuel, that fuel will ignite and explode before the pistons go ahead and fire. So you get what's called engine knocking, and it destroys the performance of the engine. It can't handle it. The fuel's not good enough. It can't handle that type of performance. So who are you, right? Are you a Honda, low performance, low quality, or are you a Ferrari, right? Are you high performance? Are you high octane? Are you rare? Do you want to perform in rare air? I'm a Ferrari. I promise you I'm a Ferrari. And I believe that I'm a Ferrari. So you know what I do? I treat myself like I'm a Ferrari. You would lose your mind if somebody gave you a $300,000 sports car and you put regular fuel into that, and they put regular fuel into that and ruined your car. You would lose your fucking mind. So why don't you think of yourself in the same way? You don't lose your mind when you eat McDonald's. You don't lose your mind when you realize that they're putting pesticides and estrogen and all these chemicals into your foods. You don't lose your mind. You just eat it. You don't think twice about it. You just, it's food at the grocery store. So you need to think about the fuel that you're putting into your body, right? And I'm going to explain how this all comes into making money. But you got to start at the fundamental low levels before you can worry about what you're going to do bigger picture. Otherwise, you're never going to get off the starting blocks. So with food, you got to ask the right questions, okay? So let's take America for an example, okay? I know a lot of the people who are going to watch this in our network, in our university, they're not in America. But let me let you know something, right? A common theme around the world, and Americans know this too, is that Americans are fat. They're huge. They're obese. They're lazy, right? There's a reason for that. Let's think about this. If you take a look at pictures from even World War II of American soldiers, American people, what they looked like in the 30s and the 40s, has this ever crossed your mind that nobody looks fat? Just go look at an old photo, right? Nobody's overweight. Nobody's fat. Nobody has diabetes. These things don't exist, okay? I encourage you to look up the obesity rates of Americans from back in the early 1900s compared to what they are now. Nowadays, even children are obese, fat. This is the reality. This is the truth. So are you noticing that? Well, why is that? Why is it that in the past, nobody was fat? Nobody was unhealthy. Men were men, women were women. This wasn't a problem. This wasn't a thing. You know that they actually used to have obese people in the clown shows or in the side shows or the circuses. That would be like an exhibit. It's like, oh my goodness, come see this huge person, this fat person. It was considered a spectacle. That's how rare it was. Now, everybody looks like that. So clearly there's a problem, right? Something's happening. So you're asking questions. So you say to yourself, well, why is everybody getting fat? Why is everybody in the U.S. starting to get chronic illnesses? Cancer rates are going up. People are becoming much, much, much more obese. More people are getting diabetes. More people are having hormonal problems. More people are having mental problems. All these numbers are going up. This is real statistics. I'm not making any of this up. All these numbers are increasing. And objectively, these are not good things. So why are bad things in the rates that they're occurring going up? Is nobody asking this question? Is nobody worried about this, afraid about this, upset about this? I'm worried about them because I'm worried about them because it's unhealthy, right? So what's happening with the food? Well, people are putting processed foods, right? These big food companies, economically, they're incentivized to make that food as cheaply as humanly possible and as addictive as humanly possible so that they can actually get more people to eat it, right? So this is just pure economics. So what happened in the food industry in the U.S. is that these major tobacco companies, and you can look this up, right? Two of the biggest tobacco companies in the U.S. whose primary goal was to make cigarettes as addictive as humanly possible, starting to get regulations, started to get bans on the cigarettes, on the way they could advertise. They started having to put warnings on the cigarette packets, etc., because they were making it so addictive. So when these major tobacco companies said, okay, we got to pivot to a new industry to continue to addict people and get profits and make money, right? And you can even argue that maybe it wasn't even in an evil way. They were just profits. They're just trying to make money, make things addictive. The more people are addicted to something, the more they use it, the more money you're going to make. So two of these massive tobacco companies actually merged with food companies, because tobacco companies were some of the richest, cash rich, right? Had huge cash piles in the US, and they used that money to buy food companies. And they went ahead and pivoted to the food industry. So you know what they did with all their scientists that they had on staff, whose main goal, their job, was to make cigarettes as addictive as humanly possible? What did they have their scientists do? Well, let's make the food addictive. Let's make the food cheap. Okay. So what did they start doing? They started using pesticides on the food. So they lose less to insects or to the weather, to the environment, etc., right? They make it. They put preservatives into the food so they can preserve it on the shelves for a longer period of time, so you don't lose money due to that. And on top of everything, they made food hyper addictive. How did they make it addictive? With sugars, with processed wheat, processed everything, right? To make the food addictive. So if you make the food addictive and you make it cheap, more people are going to eat it. More people are going to get what? Fat. They're going to get big. They're going to start having health problems. So this is what started happening in the society. And this is real, because you can look at this objectively and say, what did people look like in the past? How much did people eat in the past? What do people look like now? What's their health looking like? What are the problems that they're having? Everything is getting worse because of this, okay? So the whole point that I'm making is, when I eat, I think about what I eat. I don't just randomly go to the store, buy a bunch of BS off of the shelves, feel terrible, and say to myself, I just feel terrible all the time. This is crazy. I don't know what it is. No, I think about it. Well, why do I feel tired? Why am I feeling terrible? Why do I look bad? Why is my body getting fat? Or why am I getting unhealthier? What's wrong with me? If you're a young person, 20, 22, 24, 25 years old, or even a teenager, you shouldn't be waking up tired. That's not a good thing. That's not a normal thing for a human being. To be a teenager, waking up groggy, tired, and overweight, that's not normal. So what are you eating? So what I did was, when I first started making money, one of the first things I tried to do was, okay, now that I'm making money, now that I'm profiting, I have some money set aside, what can I do to improve my lifestyle and improve my performance? Well, let me think about what I'm eating. When I started looking into this stuff, that's when I realized how disgusting the food industry is, and how disgusting the foods that are processed and how they're made are for you as a human being, and how damaging it is to your metabolic system. So what I started to do is say, well, how do I eat clean? What are the best ways to eat clean? What are the foods that make me feel the best objectively, right? Let me not think about what the food pyramid looks like, which is, again, created by the food industry, right? Food pyramid, just so you guys know, when it first came out, what was at the bottom of the food pyramid? What was the thing that they said to eat the most of? Processed wheats and sugars. You tell that to somebody today that the biggest part of your diet should be wheat and sugar, they would what? They would laugh at you. They'd be like, what? No, sugar's terrible for you. This is what they came out with, the food pyramid. So objectively looking at your own health and how you feel, what foods make you feel good? Grass-fed, grass-finished steaks. Unprocessed dairy, right? Raw dairy, eggs, things that are natural, right? Fruits. When I started to go to an animal-based diet, this is something I did after like a year from whenever I started my first business, I noticed instantly my energy improved. My skin started looking better. I felt better. My mind was clearer. This is just objectively, like, I really was eating a certain type of way. I felt a certain type of way. I changed my diet. I changed my habits, and I felt better, and I had more energy. And guess what? Now I could perform at a higher level. And this is real life. If you really cut out most of the BS that you're eating and you just switch to something that's natural, like grass-fed meats, grass-finished dairy products, fruits, vegetables, the stuff that you know is good for you, you actually feel better. It's incredible. And when you start to come off of that sugar addiction and off of all these processed foods, you see how much clearer you think, how much better your life is, how much more energy you wake up with. I'm telling you, I cannot explain it, and you won't understand this until you do this for yourself. When you actually change the way that you eat, and you eat properly with good portions on a regimented, and it doesn't even have to be a diet. It's not even something where you're counting calories and, counting your macros or whatever the hell these bodybuilders do, etc. I don't do any of that. I don't count my calories. I don't weigh my food and do all this extra goofy stuff. No, I just eat clean food, and I feel amazing, right? So I urge you to do that for yourself. Be objective and say to yourself, okay, if I feel a certain type of way right now, if I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm overweight, I don't have energy when I wake up in the morning, etc., and you're not 60 fucking years old, there's probably something wrong with the way that you eat. So look into that. Do your own research. I'm not going to tell you how you should eat or how you should make yourself feel, right? Because whatever works for me works for me. But do that for yourself and put yourself in a position where you can operate at an optimum level. This is a real life hack. This is a real life thing that Americans are dealing with. And I promise you, if you actually change the way that you eat and the way that you think about food, your life will change. This is not, just bullshit. I don't sell food, so obviously I'm not biased for this. I'm just telling you, that's objectively how this has changed my life. So now I wake up on fire every single day, 7 days a week, operating 2-3 different businesses and making money every single day. Why? Because I have energy. I'm not over here just dying of chronic diseases. I'm 26 years old. I shouldn't be. But do you know how many 26-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 20-year-olds are sick now? Overweight, don't feel good, don't have energy, need, all these different supplements just to be able to live their life and function. That's not a normal thing. Okay? So I would urge you, me personally, what works for me is I would urge you to go into an animal-based diet, right? All clean meats, clean dairy products, water, obviously. I would only drink water or caffeine which is black coffee, which is just water with caffeine in it. I would urge you to eat and drink these clean things, right? So for myself, something that worked for me tremendously as well was implementing intermittent fasting. So another thing that I was doing for a long time now, I've become less disciplined with it, though I do want to get more disciplined with it again, which is putting yourself in an area where you have to force your body to go into a state of burning the energy that you have right now in your body. And the only way you can do that is by fasting for 12, 14, 16 hours at a time and only eating during a smaller window, right? And you'll notice when you wake up and the first thing that you do is just drink water and then maybe a black coffee and espresso. What I do a quad shot every single morning. You'll see that if you force yourself to fast throughout the morning and wait to eat that first meal, 11 o'clock, noon, your mind is so much sharper too. Because when you eat food, and I believe this intimately, if you're always full, you're never operating at as high level as humanly possible. Why? Because your body takes energy to digest your food. Your body uses resources to digest. So if you're always full and you're always eating, you're always going to be groggy and tired. Imagine, right? You get dropped in the middle of Africa, you're in the Sahara, and you're in survival mode, and you got to hunt for your food. When you're hungry and you're starving, how much sharper do you think? How much quicker do you think you move? How much more dialed in do you think you become because now it's a matter of life and death? I got to be able to find my next meal. That's what it's like to a degree if you force yourself to fast. Your body gets into a mind state where it operates more effectively and more efficiently because one, you're not using resources to digest the food that you just ate in the morning, but two, you have to be in a state of survival where your senses are heightened so that you can survive. This is a real thing. This works. So when I would run interviews all morning long for one of my first businesses, I would always say this. I'd say I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't eat until noon. I would run 3, 4, 5 hour long interviews before I had my first thing to eat. Why? Because I'd go into those interviews on fucking fire. Mental clarity, unbelievable. I would be doing word gymnastics around these people. I'd be asking them questions, dissecting them, rapport, building up problems, building up solutions, boom, 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 every single person, closed them, right? Because my mind was clear. But they would show up to these calls tired, probably bad diet, probably already ate breakfast, grog down. They just weren't as sharp mentally, okay? So these are all advantages that you can get in your day-to-day life, okay? When you understand that life as a man is competition and business is competition, then you start to understand, well, I got to do everything that I can to be as competitive as humanly possible. This is a real thing, right? This is why athletes do everything they can to get a competitive advantage against their opponent, right? People do these things. So you have to understand that in just day-to-day life, it's still a competition. So how can you get an edge on people? Just from the food that you eat. Just whether or not you decide if you're a Ferrari or a Honda or not. There's your advantage. So do you actually care to change your situation and change the trajectory of your life? It's actually very simple and easy. You just got to ask the right questions as to why it's not happening right now. If you're eating what everybody else is eating and you're listening to and doing the same things that everybody else is doing, of course, you're going to be in the same position as them. It's logical. So put yourself in a position where you can be competitive and outlast and outgrind those people. It really is so easy. It is so easy. Yeah, black coffee right here. Look at this right here. Bobby just said black coffee is the biggest life hack. I don't know where the other one is, but all I do is drink espresso. That's it. That's it. No sugar, no cream, nothing, right? If you're putting creamer in your coffee, I don't think I can say it on YouTube, but come on now. Black coffee, clean. Just clean everything. Quit putting bullshit in everything that you eat. It's so easy to be competitive in today's world. The problem is nobody takes the time to actually think about how to become competitive. Listen, the powers that be, they're doing all the hard work for you. They're doing their best to keep people down, keep them unhealthy, continue to brainwash them, et cetera, et cetera. They're doing what they got to do on their end. If you can just be smart enough to open up and think to yourself, what actually makes sense? How can I improve myself? How can I become more competitive? You're going to see how quickly you can start to win. It really is that easy. It's that simple. And for a long time, I used to think that people that I worked with, people I did business with, mentored, et cetera, I got to the point where I almost thought to myself, yeah, there's a lot of great people out there. There's a lot of people out there that want to make money, but is it that people just aren't smart enough to change themselves and change their lifestyle to be able to get what they want? Or is it that they're just lazy? And I've come to the conclusion is just most people are just lazy. It's not that we're not smart enough to think about these sorts of things and we're not intelligent enough to intuitively understand why these things make sense. We're just too lazy to do the thinking for ourselves. We would prefer somebody else do the thinking for us and just let us know what to do. Even if we know deep down in our hearts this is the incorrect thing to do, if somebody that we deem is more important or more intelligent than us tells us to do it, we just want to be like, yeah, we should just do that. Do you really believe they have your best interests at mind, or are they just trying to make a profit? Just trying to make a profit. So that's what I want to leave you with. I urge you to do some research for yourself. Understand what kind of foods are you eating? What is in the foods that you're eating? And objectively, be honest, how do you feel when you eat them? Now, you might be to the point where you've eaten like this your entire life, so you don't understand what you would feel like if you ate clean. Then I would urge you to eat clean and see how you feel like. It is incredible, the 360 that you'll do whenever you start to eat clean, good, whole foods. It is a real life hack. I'm telling you, you will change your life. The energy that you will have, the mind state that you'll have, you'll see the mental fog go, the clarity will be there, the anxiety will start to go away, the depression will start to go away. All these chronic diseases and illnesses tied to the food that we eat will go away. And understand, it's not by accident that this thing is happening. These chronic illnesses and diseases in the United States are very profitable. Very profitable. So if they're profiting money off of the food that you're eating and they're now profiting off of you from the chronic diseases that you're developing, what do you think that they're incentivized to do? Again, take away good and evil. I'm not saying has to be good, evil, this is a bad thing, immoral, etc. What are these people incentivized to do? Make money. So if they're making more money off of your ailments and your illnesses, what do you think they're going to continue to incentivize? More ailments, more illnesses, cheaper foods, less. So you get the point. So think for a second, change the way that you're living, and be intentional about the way that you live your life. Don't let these people take advantage of you. Okay? There's better ways to do things. Outside of that, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like that was a pretty good first live stream of the university call. Got a couple of new faces in here. I saw a couple of comments of new people in there, so that's fantastic. And yeah, do something different. Yeah, Alberto, fantastic point. Use the eliminating process. Start eating basic, clean, and add foods as you see how you respond to the food energy-wise. No processed foods and vegetable oils. That's the other huge thing. Vegetable oils, that will be the last thing I'll end on. Don't quote me on this, but again, do your research. The Rockefellers, I believe it was the Rockefellers and then the other lobbyists that he had, they wanted to use all of the byproduct of the oils that they were using and try to make it ingestible for humans. And so what did they start doing with this oil byproduct is they started trying to get these vegetable oils approved by the FDA or by the Food Administration body to be able to go ahead and put that into foods and sell it to human beings so they can continue to make more money and be more profitable. And it's a lot cheaper than natural oils. That's exactly what they did. They got it into our food system, and now everybody eats these vegetable oils, and vegetable oils are naturally inflammatory. They inflammate you. They make you sick. And this is almost in every single fucking food that you can buy today. So, yeah, canola oils, hydrogenated oils, corn, etc., right? So, do your research, fix your habits, fix your diet, and then watch how much more energy that you have. Then we can worry about making some money, okay? Does the quad shot espresso equal superpowers? It does. It's not for the faint of heart, but the quad shot espresso will take you to the next level of income. This is research that I've done myself, right? We all want to look at these papers and research done by these super smart scientists who are paid off by these massive companies to give you the fake research and fake numbers. I've done my own research. Quad shot espresso will make you rich, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see all you guys. I appreciate you. Have a fantastic week. Let's go change the way